You don't want 50 million buttons and you got to sit there and read the book and everything. There are levels of logic on radios. Pioneer's a real good one. We use power acoustic because they're very logical. I mean, you look at the radio and there's a big button. You push the big button. Remember Ren and Stimpy? Don't push the big red shiny button. Well, you look at the new radios, get one that you push the big button and it comes open, it comes alive, it does its thing. And then it prompts you as you want to do something. It can prompt you how to do it. You know, when you look at a radio, just don't say, well, that's cool looking. Yeah, man. Try to use the logic of the buttons because some of them are really a lot easier than other ones. It's just my personal opinion, but to me, Kenwood, the guys must have really small fingers because I have a hard time pushing the buttons. So, anyway. So this head radio, everything can run through the head unit. Kind of like your home stereo, how your TV and your DVD player and all that stuff runs through the home stereo. The dash radio, you can do the same thing. You don't want to have, well, a 26-foot motorhome's kind of small. You know, you don't want to bring 2 barbecue grills, you bring 1. So you don't want to have 2 radios that do exactly the same thing. You can integrate them together. Costs less money, coach kind of works together. Everything works great. Okay? So,
do we power our radio from the house batteries?
Boy, that's why I had him here. He's a heckler. And no, that was actually we started. Okay. See, I got off on a tangent, didn't I?
Okay.
No. We're going to talk about power. Remember?
Okay.
Remember I said power and then I got off on some other crap? So, let's talk about power for a second. All right. If you have a car with no radio, no anything in it, when you turn the key off, you hope that the battery's going to stay up. Well, these new cars with OBD and all that, they do pull a little bit of a drain. But a radio will pull, just sitting there, plugged in, remembering your memories and all that stuff, it could pull 300 to 500 milliamps. That'd be a half an amp. Okay? If you park your car at the airport and lock it and leave it and come back in 3 weeks, chances are your battery is going to be real low, if not dead. A lot of people do, like Jim Galbaby has one of the small chargers on his dash, just to kind of keep up with the radio and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so the radio would pull some current, be a problem. And if you hook it up to the engine electrical system and you let it sit 3 weeks, your battery could be low or it could be dead. Okay, so I don't really want to do that. Now, if you have an electric refrigerator, the control board in that thing's 12 volts, and it can pull 500 milliamps. Okay? So you have 2 electrical systems. You have living area, and you have the engine. Okay? Now, you already know that the living area has 500 milliamps of drain because of the refrigerator. You might have something else plugged into there, I don't know. Let's put the radio to there as well. Okay? For the engine, the only thing we want off the engine is the motor and the lighting. When I say lighting, I mean the outside light, exterior lights, headlights, tail, all that kind of stuff. This way you can party all night. You can kill this battery. Hey, actually came out like a square. You can kill that battery, but you can start this one because it didn't have any load on it. At least you're not down looking for jumper cables or anything like that. Now, when we talked about electrical, we did talk about trying to charge a dead battery with an alternator, and we don't want to do that, right? Right, guys? Okay. Don't do that. But still, if all of the drains in your coach are off the living area battery, and you have a switch that you can cut that off, you're going to be away from it for 3 weeks, you cut that off, no drains on this battery because they're all here. Well, I put a switch on that one too, engine battery, but you wouldn't need to because the only drains are going to be the motor and the lighting. Sometimes the alternator will drag down a little bit, but if you put a switch here and you're going to be away from that coach for 3 weeks and nobody's going to be there, you can shut off your batteries and everything's dead. Everything's off. If you're with the coach, you leave them on. You don't have to go to lunch and turn them off. It's not going to die that fast. but with, say, 300 milliamps here, 500 milliamps here, maybe something else. You could have an amp or an amp and a half. You can go eat lunch, you can go eat dinner the next day. That's not going to drain it. But give it 4 or 5 days and it could be a problem. So when you're with the coach, when you're traveling, turning the batteries on and off really is not a big deal. But when you're parked, that's why it's important, because of this current drain here. And because if that battery dies, the party's over, you can't go anywhere, I might as well turn that one off too. Okay? So you want to run the radio off the living area electrical system. The original yellow wire that's in the dash that ran the power for the radio was on all the time, because they did figure out that you didn't want to go to ignition and have to turn the key on just to play the radio. So the radio was hot all the time. Okay? Well, we don't want it off the engine. This yellow wire right here, we don't want it. We're going to cap that off. We're not going to use that anymore. Don't do that. Now, down under your front hood, on your passenger side, you've got boost solenoid. This thing's starting to run out. There it is. Boost solenoid. Looks like that. Got 2 big terminals, 2 small terminals like that. It's round. Hey, not too bad. Kind of looks like it's not a guy. Okay, it looks like that. Now most, unless somebody's changed it, and why would somebody change something in 40 years, right? If it's the correct, this side will be engine battery. This point right here will be living area battery. Okay? So what you do, come through the firewall, come over here, put a fuse. This thing's terrible. Put a fuse and go to this side right here. Okay? So this side is the potential for living area battery, whether it's in the back of the coach or in the front. This side is engine battery. That's usually right here. Okay? So, but we want to pull the radio and the cigarette lighter. Why not? Because that's going to be the wall wart for your cell phone probably, or whatever. Pull it off of there too. So when you go into the dash, you get rid of the yellow wire. You look inside. You're going to have your den radio right there. Here's your cigarette lighter. Well, actually, it's right next to it. Okay? There's 2 wires going to it. Cut them off. Cap that one, because that's going to the engine battery. So I believe it's a red wire. You tie the red and the yellow wire in the radio. In other words, the radio will be hot all the time. The way car radios are made, there's a yellow wire that's memory, keeps the memory going. There's a red wire that when you put power to the red wire, the radio comes on. Okay? Turn the key, right? Well, we don't want to do that. So we're going to hook both of those together. Okay? You'll turn it off on the radio. There'll be a button to turn it off. And when you pop the face of it, it'll definitely turn off. So you run both of these, tie the cigarette lighter to it, run both of those down into the glove box, through the firewall, to a fuse, and go right here. Okay? That's where I would pull power from. You want to get it off of this yellow wire, which is the engine. Okay? Now, noise in cars. You've probably had an old car or in the past, and it had motor noise, motor boating, things like that. I tell you what, in all the years I've been messing with GMCs, I've not had a problem with motor noise. If the alternator is in good shape, I think the metal is so much it just absorbs it all, and you don't have a problem. But I would take all of your power, if you're going to run power to any other 12-volt audio-video part, I would run the power of common power, and also run a common ground. Ground is where you get a lot of motor noise and stuff like that difference. So run all your grounds together and put it on one point. That's the best thing to do. All right, so we kind of rushed through this. We're going to probably do another one on video, something like that.
Yeah,
time.
we're going to shut down doing another
But
one.
if you have any other ideas about car stereo or things you want to do, remember this: there's no wrong things to do, right? But there's some things that take longer and cost more than others. It depends on if you want those. And if you do, let's do it. All right. Well, look. Thanks for coming by. If you like what you saw, send me $1. If you really like it, send me $50. I'll send you a t-shirt. All right. See you later, man.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know about that.